Speaking of pre-orders, we actually have the list of the top 10 GameSpot pre-orders, or at least Adam does. And I thought we could kind of go through and see what kind of games resonated with the E3 audience over the past week and see what the top 10 GameSpot pre-orders were. Now, Adam, do you have the list pulled up?
I do.
All right. So what I was thinking we could do is we could do this sort of as a Family Feud style situation. So we'll do top 5 answers on the board. I'll try and take some guesses at it.
Oh no, I'll be nice. I'll give you the full 10.
Oh, I'm gonna get the full 10.
Yeah,
okay,
I'll see how many you can get.
All right, I'm gonna try and guess and see if I can guess where they rank on there. I'm gonna guess number 1, and I'll get 3 wrong.
I mean,
answers,
you're shooting for the number 1 anyway, so
yeah. So number 1, Starfield. Damn it!
Not even on the board.
Oh man, what a bad start.
Game Pass, bro.
That's true. Oh shit, I forgot about that. All right.
He just wasted. See, he did the first buzz, 10 answers on the board, and he just whiffed it.
Yeah. We're gonna pass or play. I'm gonna guess Battlefield is on that list. What? Okay.
I can see the sweat coming now.
I am not doing well here.
Oh man, can he go 0 for 3?
I'm trying to remember now if Breath of the Wild pre-orders went live. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Breath of the Wild. Damn it! Oh man, I did much worse than I thought.
This entire bit has now gone to absolute shit, and that was an unintentional rhyme, and I'm kind of proud of it now.
Look at you, little MC over here. All right, Adam, let's go through from 10 to 1.
So,
what's number 10?
You're going to notice a trend in this as we go up the list, but number 10 is Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Okay.
Number 9, Madden NFL 22, because of course.
Wasn't even at E3.
This one I feel sad for people for because I've seen the game footage of it now, and it looks awful. Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance.
Yeah.
Seriously, if any of you were interested in that game, go find some of the early review footage that's been given of it. It looks like a really bad indie game in alpha still. It looks rough.
Well, I think some reviews have already been out. I know I was listening to ACG was doing a review on it, and it was kind of mixed.
Yeah, it's not been looking good. The various subreddits I follow have not been kind to it, so that's not a good sign. Number 7, Far Cry 6.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Number 6, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy.
I thought that one would be higher.
I don't know if this means this is 4 and 5, because there's only 9 on the list, but technically it's 10 titled, but we'll just say 4 and 5 are Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl.
Okay.
Number 3, Mario Golf.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Number 2, Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD. And number 1 on the board, Metroid Dread.
Oh,
so you'll notice the trend that if you count both Diamond and Pearl, the top 5 pre-orders are all Switch games. If that doesn't tell you what Game Pass is possibly doing for pre-orders, I think you know now. Because Guardians of the Galaxy, Far Cry 6, Dungeons & Dragons, and Madden are the only 4 games that... I don't know. I think Guardians of the Galaxy might even be on Switch. I think maybe Dungeons & Dragons is as well. But at worst, 4 out of 10 of the top pre-orders right now at GameStop stores is Switch games.
Yeah, and I think that speaks not only to the effect of Game Pass, which I do think is going to limit the sales of Xbox games, but I think it also speaks to the fact that we talked about is that if you're going to buy a Nintendo game, there's no point in buying... if you're going to buy a Nintendo game, you might as well buy it day one. There's really nothing to be gained by buying it 6 months or a year later, unlike things like Xbox or PlayStation games, which tend to lose their value. Nintendo, for better or worse, the games retain their value, so there's no reason to wait in terms of dropping the cash. At most, you'll save $20.
Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, again, it makes perfect sense when you really think about it. I mean, now with and also it's notable too that none of those seem to be PlayStation core games because everybody's waiting for the PlayStation experience or whatever that may be. We'll get into that as we get further in the show, but at this point, everything is either Switch games or multi-platform. In some cases, a lot of them are probably like maybe PC pre-orders or for codes, because I know GameStop has tried to figure out a way to get some of that PC gaming stuff going. So they've put their hand in there to see what happens, but otherwise, yeah, it's pretty clear now that like most gamers now are pre-ordering for Switch because, well, what else are they going to do? And especially as we complained when we talked about Nintendo during E3 this year, you know, sure, like there's a lot of games that they're announcing, but realistically, if you're like an average Nintendo gamer, you're probably looking at that list being like, okay, maybe there's like one or two things for the rest of the year that I'm like really excited for, and the rest are like a bunch of maybes. So it's you almost feel like you have to pre-order the games to make sure you get them because it might be the few things that you're really going nuts for this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it has more to do with the fact of the retention of the value. Like, there's no incentive to wait with Nintendo games, and for better or worse, I mean, it is also a detriment of the Switch in that the games don't go down in price. But I think it also helps with getting that first order kind of thing. Adam, where do you fall in general on pre-ordering? What's your personal policy on pre-ordering, and what do you think of it?
I have a very strict rule set because of the many times I've been burned. So generally speaking, it has to fall into two categories. It's either one, a game that I know that no matter what happens, I'm going to enjoy it in some aspect because I'm going to get some play out of it. Or two, it's got to be a license that I have a lot of trust in. Now, granted, that's backfired on me, but I still keep to that because, I mean, if you can't trust anything, then what are you doing trying to buy games? Like, you got to at least like open yourself up to at least some level of trust with companies. Because, I mean, it's still a market. It's still any company can come back and get you. I mean, we've obviously learned that with CD Projekt Red. We learned that with BioWare. It's happened. However, you know, if you go in pessimistic for every single thing that you do, I mean, it basically kind of takes away the whole fun and being hyped up for anything. So, I mean, at that point,
Exactly.
what do you do? And also, like, I find that more often than not, if I pre-order stuff, it's generally games that I know, because I've been on this planet for 33 years and have probably been playing games for more than half of that time.
Yeah.
I have a pretty good sense now of what I'm going to like going in. So it's really rare that I make a big mistake on pre-ordering something like Andromeda. I was more disappointed and I just put it down and didn't play it for a while. And Cyberpunk, honestly, I would have played through if it just wasn't as buggy as it was. If it just was a little bit better, I could have dealt with it. But because of the crashing and just the severely like obvious visual bugs, I'm just like, man, I can wait. And if it wasn't for Sony offering the free refunds digitally, I probably, if I had a physical copy, because I was supposed to, I pre-ordered on Amazon, but then they said I wasn't going to get it till the Friday instead of or I can't remember if it was a Tuesday or a Friday release, but I wasn't going to get it on time. So I said, screw it. I may be losing like $15 because I got it on a sale price, but screw it. I'll pony up $15, get it day one digitally. So, I mean, I would have had a physical copy, would have had to deal with it for however long, but didn't have to. So, and now it's back on the store. It's now, I think, a little bit cheaper than when it first launched. I think it's now sitting at $60 instead of $70 US.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But either way, like, I'm still at that point that I want to see the next gen patch. But granted, like, again, like I said, if I didn't hate it, it could have been something that I would have dealt with. So I never really had that, like, I've been so burned that I, like, hated the game that I played. It was more just, like, it was not what I remember from, like, either Witcher 3 when it came to Cyberpunk or the previous Mass Effect trilogy and Andromeda, where I had, like, that expectation of, okay, this is going to be at least an 8 or better. And then I got Andromeda and went, it's fine. And then I played Cyberpunk and be like, well, it seems like it's actually pretty fun, but it's jank as shit, so I can't play it.
Yeah, for me, the one pre-order that I got burned on the most, I've bought and this will lead into where I'm going with mine sort of criteria. I got a collector's edition of the Order 1886 that came with like a little statue of like Sir Galahad and stuff, and it looks sick as hell.
I was gonna say, you better like that statue because that's about all you were liking.
I mean, and to be honest, it wasn't actually that bad because I think it was like $10 more than like the regular edition of the game or whatever. So for me, I being a through and through Sony fanboy, I typically will pre-order Sony IP games, and it's typically because I'm buying the collector's edition. So I've bought, like, I'm just looking at the collection. I've got like Horizon Zero Dawn, Uncharted, Last of Us, like I know with Sony party games that like they're not going to disappoint. I'm generally gonna like them, and they're usually hard to get. Like usually the reviews come out, and I know like I picked up the God of War one, and it was the guy said like we can't even keep these in stock. I had a Last of Us one, and like those ones I was seeing them on Kijiji for crazy amount of money for them. So like those are ones where they are legitimate. Oh yeah, there's the there's the image of the Order 1886. God, what an awesome game with like so much potential that was just not met. Like,
I mean,
such a cool
I
idea.
played a little bit of it at a friend's house, and I went, nah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like the thermite gun is probably the coolest gun in that game, but it's just
as a concept, it was pretty awesome. And honestly, I think if this was like tail end of PS4's lifespan, this could have been better because again, it's like I've said it so many times too when it comes to next gen consoles, and we've said this before when we were. I think we might have talked about this like early on in our show, but like next gen is always a little bit weird the first couple of years when it comes to games. Like, yeah, there's still going to be some really good gems, but like there's going to be a few people that make some games that are really trying to see what the hardware can do, and sometimes it makes the gameplay suffer because they're trying to push the limit.
I would generally say, and I it's been years since I've played it, but I generally feel like the graphics of that game hold up to like anything that came out in the end of the PS4 generation.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
The thing that really held down that game was the gameplay, and that it was a lot of like quick time events and a lot of weird things like that.
Yeah, the gameplay really did feel like a poor man Gears of War, you know?
100%. So for me, like pre-orders, I go with those collector's editions just because they are actually rare and you do need to reserve those ones. I'm not going to pre-order an Assassin's Creed, game or anything like that, just because they're a dime a dozen and there's not really any incentive. That being said, I will pre-order a game, a couple days before it comes out, because like you usually get like those free skins or all that kind of crap. And if I'm going to buy the game anyways, I might as well get that free stuff.
And not to mention too, by then you've probably heard a couple of things that might have gotten you off the trail by now.
Exactly. So I'm not going to pre-order a game, a year out because I don't know what that is. But, if a couple days before you're starting to hear people say like, hey, this game's good, the reviews are coming out, it's good, I'll give EB Games a call and say, hey, I'll take a pre-order for this so I can get those bonuses. The other time I used to do it, do you remember when like Amazon used to do E3 sales?
Yes.
And it was like 20 or 30% off like the list price if you ordered within that week. I was buying games like basically a game got announced and I was just buying it right there because like that was the best time to get it because you were getting basically a discounted price and you were always able to cancel it. So I don't know. I know a lot of people are always like, don't pre-order. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with pre-ordering. Just don't pre-order and then commit to buying it just because you pre-ordered it. And that's sort of...
I would just make the argument, don't pre-order just after a trailer hits. Like, the game, especially if the game's not coming out for like 12 months, why are you putting any sort of money down early?
Yeah.
Like, wait and see like what's going on in terms of... how the game's getting made. Like, if anybody pre-ordered Hogwarts Legacy, if that's even possible, why would you do that? You haven't even seen what the game looks like yet. But I know people have done that.
Yeah, because I can't even think, like, there's one game I was thinking of that was, like, legitimately hard to get, but I can't remember which one it was. But, like, 9 times out of 10, when the game gets released, there is enough copies for anyone who wants one. So it's not like you have to... Not to mention,
unless you're, like, really beholden to getting a physical copy, digital exists now. You don't even have to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a collector like that, so I want that physical copy. But I mean, there is something like, because I think that Sony is pretty strict and draconian with like, because if you download the game, you can't return it, right?
Generally speaking, yeah.
So like for me, yeah, it doesn't make sense necessarily to go with a digital pre-order, but for the physical one, I can kind of see the argument for that. I don't know, Adam, are you on the same page? What do you think?
I say just don't pre-order unless you know for sure it's something you want. Because I know, and this goes to mostly like younger gamers, because I think most of us at our age kind of at least understand it because we're in our 30s. We've been around the block long enough. But like,
we're old, we get it.
If you're in like tail end, like you're finally getting some income, you got a job, like you're in tail end of high school, like dude, you can do so much with $60 to $80 depending on where you are. So actually, if you're in Australia, you're really screwed. That's probably more like 120. But You can do so much better with the money that you have instead of just putting it towards a maybe, because you can still get the game at launch more often than not, especially now that we're getting out of the pandemic soon, most of us. So you're going to be able to go to physical stores again. So you can wait. I mean, if you have a lot of money and you're older and you can make these decisions and you're kind of confident that you're not going to like, get yourself too out of sorts, sure, fine. If you really want to, go ahead and do it. But like, I see a lot of young people get really caught up in the hype. And not even like, I guess, young people. We still have people our age and some even older that so somehow get caught in that hype train because they're easily susceptible, I guess. It's just like, guys, a trailer does not mean you need to get this game right away. Like, you need a little more information. Like I said, the few times I pre-order, it's always stuff that I've extensively looked at. I've seen gameplay of, I've seen trailers of, I've looked at interviews. Like, I've gotten a pretty good sense. Like, it's from a company that I trust. It's a kind of game that I'd be interested in playing. It's something that looks like it's up my aesthetic pleasing like lane. Like, everything is checking boxes. Not just, oh, I thought the trailer looked really good and then I'd stop caring about it for the next 12 months. And it seems like we're getting better, but, it can always get better.
I mean, it's always going to be there. In terms of what's on those pre-order lists, are you surprised that Xbox isn't on there, or do you think that was this kind of to be expected with Game Pass?
Like anything major, like say a Halo Infinite or a Starfield?
Yeah, like I thought there'd be at least some. At all. Yeah,
to be honest, because I mean, now that Game Pass exists, like why? And that's kind of the risk that Microsoft's going to take with this system is that like if you have any sort of ounce of brain power going on in your head, and you're an Xbox gamer, you're looking at this being like, why would I ever buy a new game unless I desperately want a physical copy or like a collector's edition? Because Game Pass tells you, hey, for like a fourth of the price, you get this day one. No, you don't have to leave your house. And if you don't even like this one thing, there's 100 other things you can grab. Why would you ever spend, in our case, $80 for a physical copy of a maybe? When for a fraction of that price, you can try it, and if you don't like it, you don't worry. Seems like a pretty easy decision. I mean, as a guy who doesn't even own an Xbox, now I have Game Pass, and if I look at my credit card statement and it says, oh, $16 for this thing, and be like, oh, I played one game this month, it was $16.
Yeah, it's totally worth it.
I bought one game for $40 this month, and I've even started playing that yet, so